I hope you're doing well. I want to thank you so very much for joining me today. In Matthew chapter 11, we see a beautiful invitation, a beautiful offer made by Jesus. In verse 28, he says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." He says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." He says, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Notice he says, "Come to me." We have to make an effort to come to him. He says, "And I will give you rest." No one else can give it to you. Jesus alone gives true rest. And he says, "Take my yoke. Take my yoke. Take my burden on you." He says, "Because I'm gentle, I'm lowly in heart." He says, "And if you do that, you will find rest for your souls." Notice in verse 30, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." He says, what I'm asking you to take upon you, it's not burdensome. It's not a terrible thing that you say, "Oh, I've got to carry this again today," as we would usually view yokes. He says, "Come to me if you labor, if you're heavy laden." He says, "And I will give you rest." And notice he says, "I will give you rest," not you will get rest from anyone else. Only Jesus can give us true rest. He says, "Take my yoke upon you." Take my yoke, put it on you. He says, "Learn from me." He says, "I'm gentle, I'm lowly in heart, and if you do that, you will find rest for your souls." And again in verse 30, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So, if we want this true rest, we have to come to Jesus. We have to realize that only He can give us true rest. We have to take His yoke, take His burden, put it on ourselves, and then, only then, will we find rest, true rest for our souls. I want to thank you so very much for watching, and I certainly hope to see you tomorrow.